Welcome to DXgov governance discussion for Wednesday, February 2nd, 1600 UTC. I believe happy Groundhog Day, but I'm not. And then a belated Happy New Year, Shinyan Kwaila for the Spring Festival. Starting with the proposal roundup. Actually, no mainnet proposals or on Arbitrum right now. Just a couple notes on that because we just had a couple proposals passed within the last day, in the last couple hours. So within the last couple hours, there was the reimbursement of the USDC incorrectly sent to the bonding curve contract. So this went through just a couple hours, and we talked about that a lot on the forum. And then we just executed the proposals to begin the process of depositing additional liquidity into Swapper. So this was two separate proposals that sent 1.15 million ETH and 1.15 million DAI, and we just bridged those over, and now they're in XDXDAO now, and so then we'll need to do separate proposals to actually provision that liquidity. And I think like the next step on that is we probably need to set up a meeting regarding the relayer to double check on how we're doing that, considering it's such a large deposit there. But that will all be now on Gnosis Chain, the rest of that, because the funds are all there. Yeah, and that's kind of it for mainnet. Oh, I'm not sharing my screen. Gotta look at my beautiful DXgov.
Yeah, on the liquidity deposit, we were talking, Venki, maybe we should include you and Dev Violet and Oscar probably to do a meeting about this so that you guys can kind of see the action with the liquidity deposit relayer and how that goes. And yeah, I think a refresher meeting makes sense just because it's been some number of months since we've done one of these. But yeah, there's already I think like $2.7 million worth in the liquidity relayer on Gnosis Chain.
Is there any reason to have those tokens? Because there's now LP tokens, right? But those LP tokens are actually technically in the relayer. And I guess they could be in the treasury itself, but I'm not sure if there's any reason to that, especially because we'd have to probably send them to the relayer if we wanted to remove that liquidity.
Yeah, that's right. Like, I don't think I'd have to go and refresh. I don't think there's any reason to have it in the treasury, though. Yeah, I can't think of a reason why, but yeah, something we can talk about, though.
Yeah, only for tracking. I've noticed with the tracking the treasury, it's like the treasury's in more and more addresses.
Yeah, the funds are kind of getting spread out a bit, right, between the different chains, different activities. I was wondering earlier today, like, how does like Sushi even manage I don't know if people really appreciate the logistical overhead of having things deployed on multiple chains with real funds in them. Now obviously like Sushi doesn't have governance on every chain, so that's a little less overhead, but still.
Yeah, I mean, they've like deployed a bunch all at once, and then have kind of been, and there was like not that much activity on them, and then have been like slowly building them out. But it is like, yeah, an impressive. But I think they like clearly got good at deploying on different networks, and that was probably like a good bet, right? Like, yeah, there's things that they're networks that are dead, but like, yeah, I mean, they seem to be present, which I think is the most important thing for right now. Anyway, so hopefully more liquidity provisioning, that proposal, and then also maybe some other things over the coming months on the liquidity provisioning side. And then moving to Gnosis Chain, there are currently, I think there are 5 buyback proposals, 120, 121, 2, 3, and 4. And just a note, David's been doing a great job of cranking these out. There's been a lot over the last since we've restarted it, and have been. I think you've noticed it on the DXD WETH price. I think it's at 0.193 on XDAI now. We'll talk a little bit later about maybe some looking forward at the next extension and maybe making some small adjustments on the weekly volume. But yeah, there's 5 proposals now on NextDive for that. Rest of proposals, there are a couple contributor proposals. There is Adams for November and December. And then there is Sky, and Sky will kind of talk about this. So there are 2 separate proposals for you here. One is through this one here is through the Quick Wallet scheme. This is an old Quick Wallet scheme that should not be used, and to be honest, we shouldn't have it maybe accessible from the UI. But this proposal is through the Quick Wallet scheme, and then separately from that, but there's no funds in the Quick Wallet scheme, so you're not actually going to get paid or get anything from that. And then separately from that, I believe you have resubmitted that proposal through the typical contribution reward one there. And I think the latest is that this proposal should pass in the Quick Wallet scheme, because that will allow you to get your DXD back that you've staked on there, but you won't get any payment from there because there's actually no funds in the Quick Wallet scheme. And so is that correct, Sky? And I see you have voted for it now.
Yeah, once I realized, Ross told me there was no money in here, that it didn't make sense. Not that this was a broken Quick Wallet scheme. I guess both are problems. This is, using the new UI in DXvote, which is the contributor button, basically, which is then like the scheme. You can't see that it's using the scheme of a Quick Wallet scheme. You can only see, you just choose a button contributor. So this is like another UI issue, is like, if you choose contributor, I was thinking it was using a contributor scheme and not a Quick Wallet scheme. But I probably should have checked ahead of time. And then I did that using develop, and then I actually did it again. So there's actually 3 proposals. I did it again using DXvote, which is like the public facing UI, thinking that maybe that was going to give me the right contributor scheme. And that was wrong again. So don't vote on that third one. And then I just redid it using the old traditional method of contributor. Yeah, we're using contributor in a bunch of places, and so I just did it using the normal scheme, which comes directly from the DAO's avatar treasury, and that's using Gen staking. So it got a little messed up, but I was trying to use something that probably didn't exist yet. But it probably shouldn't be in there as an option. But in the meantime, we also found, I think, a bug, because we tried to get John to downstake this proposal like before it was boosted, and he wasn't able to downstake it. So there's some type of downstaking integer versus U integer or something like that could be a bug that we discovered too. So we reported that.
Because this is the first time that DXD is staking for these new schemes, and so there are maybe some complications with that.
Yeah, I mean, not being able to downstake for some odd reason is obviously a big problem. I don't know if it's because the Quick Wallet scheme is not a correct one, or if there's a separate issue, but the DXvote team's looking at it.
And it does kind of, I'm just thinking about like a test that we should be doing when we're like launching these new schemes, is we should like test out holographic consensus, right? Like, can you boost, can you unboost, like, can proposals go through that in different ways? Obviously, like, there's a risk because with the schemes you're using actual DXD, but I think that's a good practice. Cool. And just in terms of there is a new Quick Wallet scheme. So I just for all contributors, or really anyone submitting a proposal using DXvote, right now you should go through the custom one every time. The contributor one right now is not really working, and that's connected to another thing. Hopefully we will have that set up. But right now there's no funds into any of this, and then like the proposals are separate. So really it should all be the custom one there. There is a new scheme that has been installed with some additional changes. And so that was installed, I believe, last Friday. And so we're in the process of testing that. And then the first thing we need to do to test that is to add permissions for this quick wallet scheme. So this is a proposal that Augusto submitted a couple of days ago, and then I boosted this morning. And so it gives the quick wallet scheme the permission to send DXD and WXDI there. And so when this is implemented, then we can actually start testing the quick wallet scheme. But even before then, there's not really anything, I think, for contributors to be doing now, that they should be staying with the custom proposal type. Okay, moving along, we have the Atlantis World Carrot portion. So this is a pretty cool, I think, proposal. This is the second part of the Atlantis World grant proposals. I think this was created by Federico, but maybe Sky, you can talk about this for a second here.
Yeah, just at least for carrot campaigns now, we gathered all the necessary details and provided those to Federico. He then creates this yarn script, I guess, which is literally just a copy of the information that we are giving him and requesting. So maybe there can be a document in our docs that shows exactly how to take the inputs and put it into this yarn script. I don't actually know what a yarn script is, but wherever you put that yarn script, using multi-call 1, which is what Federico used, theoretically, yeah, any of us should be able to do that. And then there's a few pieces. Yeah, obviously you can't see it there. I can share later, yeah, like what the yarn script looks like. Maybe I'll make this doc where I just have like the inputs I need, and then the yarn script that Federico made from that, and then basically we have to like choose token name and token symbol, and we've created some standards for that type of stuff, and we chose to, because this carrot is not created. I guess with Tenderly you can mirror it, and then you would know the address of the token that is going to be created. And so in the same proposal multi-call, you could also send that future made token to an address. But in this case, we decided to just keep things simple, create the actual carrot token in this proposal, and then once it's created, it will be sitting in DXDAO avatar, and then we'll send that carrot token to the Atlantis team. But theoretically, you could do that both in the same proposal by simulating it, basically, which is a little confusing. So we kept it simple.
Yeah, it's almost like the opposite of when we have the two proposals to deposit liquidity. You could do that through. But here it's like you create the token and then send the token too.
Yeah, because like this token, you don't know, this token doesn't exist yet until this proposal passes. And so, yeah, no one knows the address for it, of what the actual token is, until it's created, unless you simulate it, I guess. Not really sure how that part works.
Cool. Yeah, another bit of very cool proposal going through the multi-call here. Awesome to see kind of launching a carrot campaign through governance here. And yeah, just moving on through a couple of the other proposals. I mentioned the adding permissions for the quick wallet scheme. So this is the DXD, WXDI. We've already gone through the Sky. We'll get to the coordinate in a second. Melanie's contributor proposal there, and then there's also a proposal to facilitate the payment for Tenderly. So this is something that just kind of I was in contact with him to switch over the ownership there, And so we will be able to do this on chain, but it's a little bit better to do it in a 6-month increment, considering the transaction cost there. But this will be facilitated through Caney Fork. They need a legal entity for an invoicing component, but hopefully this will get up and we'll have the 10 release subscription for the next 6 months there. And then the last thing, I guess, on Gnosis Chain, this is actually not a boosted proposal, but we do have, I did submit a proposal to unregister the quick wallet scheme. I think the one that's that you had used, just so that we don't have that on there. But I'm going to check with Augusto before kind of boosting that to see if there's anything to be doing there. But this is just I don't know if we've actually tested out the deregister function there, but this would register this one that is like broken, essentially.
That reminds. Oh, go ahead, Scott.
Regarding all the schemes, once they are like up and working, we have them. There's going to be a whole bunch of schemes. The second question of like, is there funding in those schemes? I think it's going to be really important for the UI to show that information, because if you're giving people the option to choose different schemes and stuff, it's the UI is going to have to like either say it's okay to use this scheme or this scheme has money in it. And right now, like you just look at like some random number, like the beginning of addresses of schemes, but you can't see what any of them are or if they're funded or anything like that, or even the full address. So it's got some user experience improvements that definitely need to happen.
This reminds me, Chris, too, there's I think a few other schemes that we could probably unregister on Gnosis Chain.
There were several. They're it actually took me a while to figure out the right one that I wanted to deregister, even though I think there were probably a bunch. But the one that I did, so this is the one that was just installed, this last one, and then this is the one I deinstalled here. And I think there's another one here that we can also deinstall here.
Yeah, another cross-reference is to look in Alchemy, because Alchemy shows like unsupported plugins, and we can check. One of those may be like the actual quick wallet scheme or whatever, but we should probably double check. I can help you with that too. It would be good to kind of do some cleanup there and
clean up.
Yeah,
spring cleaning, exactly. Maybe a little early.
Yeah.
And even like, I don't know if we need these. Like this one is literally entitled invalid scheme. Okay, and then the last, I guess the person we haven't gotten to for on Gnosis Chain is the end of year appreciation DAO using Coordinate, and there's an ongoing Coordinate program going on now that started on Sunday and will be going for I think another 3 days. Melanie, do you want to kind of inspire or say any other words about this cool experiment we're doing here?
Yeah, definitely. So as Chris mentioned, this week we started Epoch 1 of Appreciation DAO using Coordinate. A big thank you, of course, to Sky for helping bring this to life. And I just want to give everyone some background quickly of what Coordinate is. It's a tool created by Yearn to help organizations reward contributors, incentivize participation within communities in this very fair, ground-up, decentralized manner. We've been discussing using Coordinate at DXgov for a while, and this end-of-year appreciation DAO is really a great way to utilize it. I'm especially coming off of the heels of our recently completed peer reviews. So just a little bit more about how it works. Each contributor receives a fixed amount of give tokens, and it's up to each individual to choose who to give them to within their circle. In our case, it's the DXDAO core contributors. It's an opportunity to give appreciation to fellow contributors who you feel have provided value to DXDAO, helped you out or others, or just have done something specific that you'd like to reward them for the last 6 months of 2021. At the end of each epoch, which specifically is at the end of this week, on Saturday, the 5th, the give tokens are converted to get tokens, which is redeemable for wrapped XDAI. And then the rewards will be distributed via a dispersed mechanism. I think, Sky, how are they going to be distributed?
Yeah, the disperse, like using the safe. These funds are going to the safe, and it will just be dispersed according to the percentage allocations, basically.
Okay, yeah.
What you just described of it turning into get tokens and get token being like able to like withdraw collateral, that if you saw that somewhere, that could be like future iteration of Coordinate, which then sounds kind of like Carrot, which is actually really interesting, like putting carrots into Coordinate or something. But Coordinate currently doesn't like handle money itself. It's just this measurement mechanism that then you take those results and apply those to actual real money or capital or collateral.
Yeah. Okay, I wasn't sure about the end of that, but thanks for clarifying. And I just want to encourage every core contributor to fully participate in this initiative. So that means not only distributing your give tokens, but also writing a thoughtful note to other contributors. I know personally, I've been working through mine this week, and I've been having a really good time just distributing my give tokens and writing my notes, because I've been able to reflect and think about all of these really great moments where I feel like other contributors have helped me personally or provided value to my squad, and I've been able to write a note and just give appreciation. And anyways, I just hope that this small trial of using Coordinate will prove to be very successful. Every core contributor participates, and then we can just continue to use Coordinate, as we see fit moving forward. And yeah, I don't
and don't wait till Friday or Saturday to do it, because you'll forget, and then you don't do it, and then you don't participate. You don't get to give anything. You don't get to get anything. So make sure you do it like this week.
Yeah, that too.
Yeah, the deadline is 3 days, right? Like it has to be by the 5th, right? So,
Yes.
and these give tokens are not the same thing as give tokens, right?
It's unrelated.
Nothing alike. This give tokens are just a on-chain signed, like a snapshot method signed measurement of like unit. Almost, it's more like rep in DXDAO. It's a on-chain unit of measurement. Sorry, not on-chain. It's a unit of measurement that you sign using your mainnet address, and it signs messages into Coordinate like Snapshot, but they're just units of measurement.
Gotcha. Thanks.
I have a quick question. This is Thriller. Does Coordinate make it public everyone you voted for in Coordinate and how much you decided to give them, or is it anonymous in any way?
Yeah, that's a good question. So one of the cool things that comes out of Coordinate is like a graphical map of, like, with not exact numbers, but like movements using like a linear floating map. So you get to see a map of like who's interacting and giving to who and receiving from who within a community, but only the circle. And so we decided for this test just to use core contributors, but eventually I think it would be cool to do this with like the wider DXDAO community, which is a much bigger, like anyone who's contributed anything to DXDAO, like a bigger community. But in this example, only if you are part of the circle can you see the map of who's giving to who, like graphically. And then you also can only see, like only you can see the notes that were written to you. So that's not public. And then you can't see like the exact amounts that a person gave to each other. The one thing is the admins can see who's participated and who's not participated. And if you've given all your give tokens, or if you've only given half of your give tokens, but yeah, you can't see like the exact numbers. You just kind of see that through like a higher level graphical interface. Like yeah, we can show it later, or yeah, I mean, it's really for the circle, the people that are members of the circle to see. But yeah, so there is like decent privacy embedded in it. Like obviously the Coordinate team, this is a centralized website, so the developers of Coordinate could probably see the details because it's like held in some off-chain signed wallet database somewhere. But in general, it's not super public to people outside the circle.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah.
Awesome. And this is the thing, I think the more we do, it's like another opportunity to learn more, right? We'll do this once and kind of learn something out of it and, calibrate going forward. I have not done mine yet because I'm trying to put thought into my notes. So
Yeah, that's the notes.
thoughtful.
Like, yeah, the notes are like, I agree with Melanie. Like, one of the coolest parts of it. It's almost more important than the actual giving of tokens. The one risk I just would reiterate is like, everyone, please don't wait till the last day and then forget, because that does happen, and we don't plan to redo it. So,
and this is the blockchain, so it's like the timing is not negotiable.
yeah, well, it is not. The end date is the epoch is not actually written on blockchain. It's still in a bit of a centralized like Coordinate database probably, but the date is set and can't be changed. But I wouldn't say it's on a blockchain yet. There is a plan to make this more open and permissionless and leverage on-chain, I imagine, and like actually have the collateral embedded in the system and stuff. But just like Snapshot, it's taking some time and probably will require a layer 2 or something. Like, you wouldn't want to do that on mainnet. It would be a terrible experience.
Everyone gets the same amount of give tokens, right? To give out.
Correct. In this case, everyone has 100 give tokens to give, and you can give those however you want. There is the ability to, and this would take some additional like alter of input, like if someone, you could say like people that are only 50% time or something, they only get 50 give tokens, and full-time contributors get 100 give tokens. So you have the ability to give everyone different amounts if you chose some methodology for that to happen at the setup of the Coordinate. But in this case, it seems, as core contributors, it seems to keep it all even makes a lot of sense. But there is that feature. If there was some additional thing you wanted to apply, like if you wanted to do it based on like the amount of rep you have in DXDAO determines, you get more give, say, or something like that. That is possible. Yeah, and the Sankey diagram is pretty cool, which you'll be able to see when it's complete, I think.
I think the wallet's set by the organization.
For setting up wallets and stuff, that's all part of the setup. And obviously the setup is, Chris had shared an article about a community that used it, and they determined like, the setup of this matters, like determining who gets to participate, how many give tokens you get to start with, what wallet you're using and can sign in with. Those are all things that take setup by the initiators of it. And so that can obviously alter the way it's effective. And one other thing was this community that tried it. I believe like 1 month they just used Coordinape instead of their normal process for paying contributors to DXDAO, or sorry, to their community. And I think that can definitely cause some problems. The interesting thing that that a lot of communities or that some communities that are using Coordinape are doing is you're using Coordinape in addition to other things you're doing. And so what that could be regular contributor pay, that could be shipping bonuses, that could be using source cred. And so Coordinape as an additional tool at least is a smarter probably way to use it than as it being your only tool. If Coordinape was the only way that you pay contributors, I think you get very limited by the flexibility and like power of it. So we're using it at least currently in addition to our other guidelines and things.
Yeah, and nothing new, but DXDAO I don't think is getting credit for the innovation that we're at least trying in terms of the compensation structures, right? Like obviously we have the stable coins, the DXD vested component, even distributing reputation, right? Governance power as a form of compensation. We've got like the retroactive bonuses, and then obviously like this Coordinape. So I think it's just cool to be experimenting with these different types of incentive like mechanisms, because I think like long term it probably won't be a single one that is used. It's like a combination of these different ones.
I mean, in some ways, Coordinape is like less structured and less rigid in a way that's kind of risky, right? Because it's like purely social. I mean, I guess everyone's going to see what you. I mean, in some cases, everyone would see what you do, but like two people could just very easily collude to get the most out of the Coordinape. I feel like, right? They could just give each other all of their tokens and then also get some from other people and get the most, or just whoever's nicest to everybody, right? As opposed to whoever contributes the most. So I think it'll be really interesting to see how it turns out.
Yeah, so people have definitely kind of brought that up in the past. I think by testing it, you'll start to learn more about it. But like saying it's very public, which is like kind of an odd thing. Like DXDAO proposals every month where you list your contributions to the DAO and people vote yes and no. That is far more public than Coordinape. Like, and all of the same factors that you can factor into and say are things that could happen in Coordinape, those can all happen in on-chain governance as well. So two people colluding when there's 25 contributors, like, yeah, they could do that. Like you'll see it happen. And like, yeah, I wouldn't be too worried about that.
Something cool that I wish was a feature was to be able to distribute the one that is awarded to you. Like if you give away all of your own tokens to others, and whatever you receive, for you to be allowed to still keep giving it.
Yeah. So there is a feature, and we've recommended people don't do this epoch, and you can see it, but you can see it in the forum post. As receivers in a community, as a receiver of Give token, anyone has the option and the ability to opt out and not receive their Give tokens. And so if you chose to not receive your Give tokens, those Give tokens are effectively distributed to the entire other set of receivers, but you can't give them just to one specific person. You can make the decision that you don't want to receive Give tokens for some reason, and those get distributed. They basically get burned, so they get effectively distributed among the same like outcome as the epoch determines.
Sweet. Coordinate. Three days. Make sure and get it. We'll hopefully have another reminder, but everyone hopefully
Yeah,
decided
and
to
this
remember.
proposal is to allocate the funds that will be distributed as the once the outcome is known.
25, and it's 25,000 DAI, and that will be distributed based on the proportion of give tokens.
Yep. Yes.
And I think, as you said, you have to give in order to receive. Okay. Melanie, I don't know if there's anything else on like contributor X, or I guess officially now maybe contributor X. That's something that you wanted to bring up or talk about.
No, I think that's it. Over the next few days, one more thing actually. In the next few days, I'm going to be posting a proposal in the forum about a DXgov entity formation and maintenance contributor stipend. Just to let you know, that's kind of coming your way in the forum soon, and maybe I can just talk about it a little bit more next week after it's kind of been sitting there for a while and get feedback. But I guess that's the only thing. Yeah.
Cool. Awesome. Then just next up, I just wanted to follow up on the participating in the Codeless Conduct Hackathon. I saw Christopher replied in the thread here. I think it would be good for him probably to do the proposal himself on Gnosis Chain, and I guess we would. It's 3K, not 3.5. So I guess we could probably start drafting or get him to start drafting a proposal there. I wasn't sure if there's any other discussion here about that. Crickets, but okay. Well, be on the lookout for a proposal through there. I'll follow up with Christopher on next steps there. And then also be thinking of ideas on some like no code things. When I was actually talking with Dave on like maybe there's some treasury ideas that we could maybe have, even like a Dune dashboard that people do, or maybe even people pitching us different investment ideas, looking at risk analysis or anything, but just some ideas on different types of no code ideas that we can have for the hackathon. And there is a nice, beautiful DWork board that is tracking that you can submit and track them. We had a DAO ETH Denver video, I think is a good one we were thinking of putting on there. And then just the last two items that I had on the agenda here are related. I guess first, I wanted to maybe continue the discussion on the DXD WETH swap fee, which is related to the increase in DXD liquidity. I was looking to kind of craft a proposal on potentially increasing the DXD WETH swap fee first on Gnosis Chain to 0.5%. And just wanted to see if there was any thoughts on that before proceeding. I'm thinking it'll also push forward that on mainnet because I think that DXD liquidity will maintain in DXDAOs and into Swapper, and I think making it a little bit more appealing to LPs by raising the swap fee, I think is important, and I don't think it will have a material effect on volume because the DXD is already in Swapper there. So yeah, I was just gonna bring it up to open discussion and see if anyone had any thoughts on a proposal to increase the DXD WETH swap fee to 0.5% on Gnosis Chain.
I think it's an interesting idea, although I don't think it's a given that, moving the fee in one direction will increase the fees taken for the liquidity providers, right? It sort of depends because it depends on the volume, right? So I guess the question is, like, if it does maintain the same amount of volume, then it increases the fee. But I guess it's also possible that increased fees could deter volume. But I mean, I think your observation is good that like because there's not really liquidity in other places, that's sort of unlikely, right? That it would decrease volume on Swapper.
Yeah, and Sky, I don't know if you have any thoughts on this from the house experience, because that one is 0.5% there. And it basically would deter people from trading frequently. But like if you look at Gnosis Chain, there's actually not that much frequent trading of DXD. It's more like people come in typically after buybacks and are kind of using that there. So yeah,
there's some examples of balancer pools where that pool is the pretty much was the only pool to like buy a certain token, was pretty sizable, had 4.2% fees and 70/30. So it was like custom made so that it was like good for LPs. And yes, people still trade on it because that was the only place to get that token. There's probably some optimization, but what it does is it detracts like ARB. So if ARB bots are doing stuff across chain and they have to deal with a large fee, then that traffic tends to go away from those pools. And so even if you have your main pool like on Gnosis Chain for DXD, if there's any other pools that exist that have DXD, there's going to be ARB between them. But if there's a big fee, then the ARB can only happen so often. It can happen less often, right? And so that's just like another factor. But they like 0.3% or 0.5%, like, I don't know if I don't think that makes too much of a difference. I there was some guessing on why when Uniswap originally chose the 0.3%, but there was a study I think they did afterwards, and like
no, there was nothing. They picked it up out of the air. 0.3% is like more out of the air, and we're at 0.25%.
Yeah, but then they did a study and they found out that like actually 0.3% ended up being kind of near the optimal.
Well, I think it's highly dependent on the asset, right? And I think in Venky's point in the chat here is very important. Like he's saying it could be on Swapper XDAI, and I think it makes sense to have higher fees on things that are more susceptible to impermanent loss. And I think that makes sense in general when you think about like less liquid tokens. If you're market making in those tokens that are less liquid, like you should be taking a higher fee because it's like the price is not as reliable because it doesn't have that like foundation of liquidity. And so that's why I think it makes sense for house. And that's why like also if you look on mainnet, right, remember the balancer 80/20 DXD pool actually has a 0.6% fee. And on like mainnet, the actual real, I think this actually has more of a chance on mainnet, because on mainnet, the real deterrent to buying DXD is the gas costs, right? That's what's really taking up all of the cost on whether or not you want to ARB to mainnet or not, is like whether you want to spend $40 or $50 on the gas costs. So I don't think it's as much on the LP fee, but I think like LPs on mainnet would benefit from a higher fee there.
Yeah, I mean, it's also possible that lower fees are better for LPs, right? I think it's just important to recognize that it's.
Well, I don't think lower fees are going to increase the volume of DXD. Like,
right.
I think the volume of DXD is not very dependent on fee. Yeah, I think our other way, right? That's the thing. This is specific about DXD because I think like volume for DXD WETH is not dependent on really fees. The thing that's driving like volume of DXD WETH is like buyback and then like arbitrage from that, and like some people coming in. And so I think that will stay regardless of fees. Anyway, just was thinking about this in terms of the 0.5%. I'll probably look at, maybe we could see even the house one and how that's like affected like the fees versus volume that they've had there. Because I think that's like a good example.
Yeah, it might be interesting to like collect data over periods of time, actually playing with different fees. Although, I mean, it's hard to do a perfect experiment, right? But I mean, it's a pricing problem, right? Just like any kind of pricing of anything, right? But,
I mean, I do think it's very dependent on the asset itself. So it's like there's not going to be like a curve that is, and this is like when going back to like Swapper like design in general. This is what I thought the market was going to go towards, is like each asset votes in their own curve for how it should be like market making on fees and the balancing and permanent loss. But anyway, I think smaller liquid, like illiquid tokens would benefit from higher LP fees to make it more appealing to LPs. But we'll continue.
Does Professor Daviday have something to say here with his Laffer?
With his Laffer curve, which is, debunked, but
even a line is a curve, so it's definitely a curve. That's what I wanted to say.
That's something we definitely know at DXgov. I mean, if you've looked at the bonding curve.
Yeah. It is a lot. Yeah, a curve. Fun curve. And then like next item related, just to kind of continue the discussion we had in the Discord a couple weeks ago or a week or two ago about maybe figuring out how we calculate DXD volume. And so Dave and I were chatting about maybe a way to do this so that if there is something that volume dips below like the weekly average, that could be made up in additional proposals. So we will try to get, we'll include that in like the next buyback extension proposal and try to get that up a little bit sooner than before, because there will be some adjustments to how it's calculated. But this will, hopefully make sure that the volume is not, or that the purchases are not affected if there's some like complication on the solver or some problem we have on our end. Oh.
Yeah, I'm about to derail the house.
Well, that's it. I think. Is there anything else? Chat. I don't know. Anyone else have any other thoughts, governance things to address? Sweet. Sky, you can probably hit the recording while we talk about sushi.